The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation or bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly podcast coming to you March 5th, 2024. How you guys doing? By the way, shout out to our good friend, our good friend of the show, GW Gross. Of course, he's the guy that on the intro of the show you just heard a second ago. He's been gone from social media, from pretty much from anything related to social media for we're looking at about 2.5 years now, close to 2.5 years. He's been gone. We do still keep in touch. We talk all the time. In fact, we talk probably at least once a week. If you guys don't know, he's also was a regular on the show for a very long time. When we did the radio show way back when, in 2011, 2014, for a chunk of those years, he was actually my co-host of the show every Friday. And he's been a staple in the show for a very long time. Unfortunately for us and for me, he decided to just stop podcasting, stop writing blogs on sports and whatever it may be. He stopped everything. Just focus on his family. Speaking of his family, he just had his second child recently too, also. So congrats to G and his wife Christina, of course, for building their families. That's 2 kids now for the Gross family. But yeah, that's my update for G. And people do ask me how he's doing. People who remember him but haven't really spoken to him in a long time, to ask how he's doing, and he's doing good. He's doing real good. He's in a good place. I've been trying to get him to come on the podcast for last year or so. He said he'll do it one day. You'll see. He's got me in the mood to it. No, he said he'll do it, but I don't know when. No, I'm still working on it. I was hoping to get him on for the draft, maybe for the NFL draft, to talk about the draft a little bit. But like I said, I'm not going to push anything he doesn't want to do. If he's happy in the space he's in now, mental health wise, I'm okay with that. I support him. He's my friend first and foremost. I'm not going to use him for content. He's my friend first and foremost. And if he's not comfortable doing this and doing this kind of platform, right now at this present time, we got to respect that, and I got to respect that. So again, shout out to my boy G on his beautiful family. 2 kids now. Wow, that boy, I'm telling you, man. I do miss him on here, man. I really do. But at least we have one of the intros still. He's still here in spirit, with the intro to the show, so job well done for that, of course. It's funny because, think about that. Think about, people like G, of course, and other folks I've had on this podcast. This is a show that's now existed for 13 years. 13 years. I can't believe I've been doing this show 13 years. In some form or fashion. You remember this show started out as solely a sports podcast. It was called EJ Sports Rap, way back when. Corny ass name. Look back in hindsight, but it was a name I used because back then I used that name for an old show I did back in my middle school years, back in the early 90s. Where I did the Monday. When it was in middle school, I did the Mondays announcements. I would talk about the sports games of the week or the weekend. And it was called Sports Rap. So I took the same idea. But of course, I'm glad I evolved it. My wife was actually the one that named this podcast back when it was a blog, named it as a blog, and expanded from a blog to a podcast. Which by the way, I still have a blog. I don't really, I did write one piece recently right before the Super Bowl. But that's about it. It's been so hard to just step in and get back to doing this the way I wanted to back in the day. And the reality is too, also, and you guys may notice this probably in the last few weeks since football ended. I've been really pacing myself with podcasts. You guys know I go full bore, especially during football season between September and November and January, February. I go full bore. We have all the amount of shows we do a week on here. I do a lot of appearances on other shows throughout that time as well too. And normally, even after football season, I take a little break and then I'll come back and ease off the gas a little bit. But not like this. This is the first time I've actually really paced myself. Like I've been really, be honest with you, I'm kind of been doing like one show a week. Really, be honest with you. And granted, I have I have like a couple other podcasts. I have I have the, if you guys love wrestling, of course, I have my wrestling retrospective podcast. I've been I have. That's kind of slowed down a little bit too the last couple of weeks because not just my fault, but other guests we had planned for those shows. They had to pull out last minute, so which is fine. I'm not pushing it. I think also the health scares I had recently too also has caused me to slow down a little bit. And it's I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to utilize my time. You see, I do have time to do the shows, but I'm trying to also utilize my time wisely. I don't want to spend all my days, but the time I have to myself here, for example, on a Tuesday and Thursday, when my wife's at work, my kids are at school, and I'm home for 4 or 5 hours myself. That I don't want to use. I don't want to use that time just to podcast. Like I want to expand the palette a little bit, and not just on a digital platform. Although they do say, if you love something, if you're passionate about something, you dive into it. And I mean, I'm passionate about the medium, but at the same time, don't burn out and all that. But I'm still grateful for the platform because this platform has brought me so much joy in my life. Not just doing the shows and whatever, but the people I met through the years. The countless amount of friends I've made in the 13 years of doing this podcast because of the medium, solely because of the, creating a platform that brought folks over on here to come on the shows, and some of those guys end up becoming and gals end up becoming regulars of the platform, building a community of sorts. And you have people that I've still to this day who I've known for 10, 12, 13 years that have been regular on the show that we chop shop all the time, that I have not still met in person to this day. Now, that being said, next month, we're going to end that with certain people that come on the show. Kyle Nash, Big Jim James' niece. Kyle Nash is in Orlando, of course. Big Jim's coming down to Orlando. I know Matthew Milizan, the other person also who comes on the show time to time. He's going to be also coming down to Orlando in middle of April. I'm going up there also too. We're going to meet each other the first time. So that's going to be fun. But my whole point is this, is the connectivity. I'm an extrovert. I'm someone that thrives on conversations, that thrives on meeting people, learning people. Through my entire life, I've made so many friends in different mediums, different platforms, countries, you name it. And a lot of those people I've continued to maintain, to keep on, to this day, at the age of 43, still in my life, like 15, 20, 35, 30 years later, that is still my life today. And I'm so proud of that. And the podcast has allowed that, has created that intersection of connectivity, of community that I would not otherwise had anywhere else. And I'm so grateful for it. It's why I don't want to ever end this thing. I want to keep going as long as I can. Because there's such value. There's more than just trying to, I want my podcast to get big so I can go and do this, go on this platform. And that'd be great. If this show ever got picked up by an ESPN or a massive, sports media or whatever media, because it's obviously a variety show, not sports, but it's a variety show, it'd be awesome. But I don't do this for that. I haven't done it. I haven't really done it in that way in a very long time. I do this show because I love doing it. I love doing content. I love talking to people. I love discussing things that I'm interested in. Whether it's sports, wrestling, politics, life, minimalism, financials, whatever it may be. Anything. I love it. And I'm so grateful for the people I have met through this medium. The power of connectivity is so important to me. And it's so real. It's so real. Now, that being said, there have been people I've also met through this medium that have been, let's just say, toxic individuals. You see today's episode. You probably remember the title, because it is a line of one of my favorite songs of all time, off one of my favorite albums of all time. the toxicity of our city, off a System of a Down song, and I've had a situation recently, and not this one, but actually a few situations really. But one stood out here, and I'm not going to say that person's name because it's not even. I don't want to even give that person attention at this point now, even though we no longer talk to each other, we no longer follow each other, we block each other since then. But he or she might be listening to this podcast, and that's fine. And they may think it's targeted towards them, and they could be right, could be wrong. Who knows? But I won't give them the time of day, on this platform because they don't deserve that time, that kind of attention, negative or positive. And toxic individuals is something that I've always dealt with in some form or fashion, no matter what. But in recent times, in recent years, really this year, to be honest with you, in more time than any time, we made a point. I made a point. And I say a week because my wife and I have had some situation with other people as well too, where we made a decision to, you know what, if it doesn't add to our lives, if it's toxic, you put it out. And you got a person who's this is the person, and look, you guys know I have on my Facebook page, I have a community page I have people with friends of mine, some people who are fans of the show who do post from time to time on the show. And so if you've seen this person on there, if you've seen the back and forth of this person, or saw back and forth of this person on my Facebook page last week, you know who it is. I'm not gonna say his or her name, but you know who it is. Okay. And this person is no longer a part of the community, no longer a part of my ecosystem, and thank God. And quite frankly, he never really was. He or she never really was. He's someone that the person is someone that I've really, early on did not have chemistry. Now, granted, this person's been on the podcast a few times, but it's very spotty. I think he's been on the show maybe he or she been on the show maybe 3 times at best in the 13 years. But it's been a while since this person's been on the podcast, at least like 7-8 years, and it's fine. And this person is just someone who is toxic in a way where no matter what you say or do, this person cannot communicate properly, and this person continues to beg to come on the podcast. And why can't I come on the podcast? Isn't that? And I want to be nice to the person and say, listen, we'll work it out some point down the road. But the truth of the matter is, and this is probably my fault, I should have nipped in the bud early on. The reason why this person will not come on the podcast is because I did not feel I had chemistry with this person to talk about sports, whatever it may be, on this show. This person wanted to use this platform solely to, quote unquote, rant about things that's on this person's mind. And I'm sorry. You look at this podcast. This show is not made for that platform. When I have guests on this podcast, and you guys know this, especially in the last like 7-8 years, we ain't coming on here to just to sit here and rant about stuff. We're coming in here to have a conversation about things. So right off the bat, this person was trying to use this platform any which way to, I wouldn't say get notoriety, because first off, I ain't that important. So I'm going to sit here and say I'm that guy. But the truth of the matter is, I've been doing my show more consistently, and it's not even a conversation, than this person. This person has been so hot and cold, hit or miss. 1 minute, the person is doing a podcast, and he's out for 3-4 years, and he retires and comes back. That is what it is. And this person will ask you, he's probably listening to this podcast, he probably will understand. He probably will say, he doesn't tell the truth. This person doesn't tell the truth. But the fact of the matter is this. This person does not fit the platform. So I shouldn't have thought about early on saying, no, listen, no offense, I just don't have any chemistry. I don't think I'm not interested in having you on this show. What came to a head recently was, and this is funny because like every time I would post an episode of the show on my group or on my Facebook page, this person will leave a sarcastic little meme on there. And I know why this person was doing that. He was doing this because of the fact of the matter is he couldn't be on the show. So I'm gonna say he because it's a he. Okay. Because of the fact that, he couldn't be on the show, so he tried to troll in a way to get attention. and say sarcastic remarks. So this time when he posted something on my group page, which he's had liberty to do, I went ahead and responded in a similar way, and he got really mad about it. I'm like, well, listen, you love to dish it. If you want to dish it, if you can't take it, then what are we doing here? And then he gets mad, of course, and has a little soliloquy. And I basically had enough. I called him on and told him, listen, you just have to, you have to grow up. You got to grow up. And then he calls me a pathetic human being, which I drop dead. Your show's pathetic. It's funny, show's pathetic, but yet you beg me to come on the show like every month for the last like 5 years. And I'm telling the truth there. I have the receipts. But my show's pathetic though. But my show is so pathetic enough to come on to want to rant about things. Again, if you know who this person is, that's you figured it out. People figured out who this person is. Obviously, I'm not giving this person a platform. I'm not going to say his name because just the fact I said the mail. That's it. It should tell you enough. Okay, if you know who it is, you know who it is. I don't need to say. I'm looking at this camera now too, saying this. I don't need to give this person any more of an attention. We're never going to speak again, ever. I blocked him. He blocked me. And I'm good with that. Trust me, I'm good with that. This person, to me, is a very toxic individual, and I refuse to have him in my life. Okay? And other people agree with me. In fact, there's been other people on the show who have said, I won't say mention names here, why do you take so long to do this? Because there's other people as well that have blocked him as well, too, years ago. And honestly, the last week since then, it's been great. It's been great. It's been quiet and carefree and no stress. And again, this is where I'm at in my life now. You add stress in my life, I put you out. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter who it is. It could be a family member. It could be your parents, your children. It doesn't matter. If someone disturbs your peace and does not respect you enough and your space enough and wants to call you out names, this and that, and then react in certain ways and play the victim, they don't deserve to be in your lives. They don't deserve to be entitled to your lives or access to your lives. And we're dealing with that also with my wife and I dealing with that with another person in our family as well too. Very close to our family. Again, no names mentioned, of course. But we had to make a decision to cut X person off because that person adds toxicity to our lives. Folks, it's very important. It's very important to keep toxic individuals out of your lives, regardless of who it is. Regardless. I told my wife this actually recently. If I ever added negativity to your life, just leave me. Just leave me. Divorce me. Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that to you. So, you got to cut them off, man. You got to cut them off. And I just, with this person, I did that finally. Thank God. And it's great. And he responds to me with drop dead. Drop dead. Like, this is great. You're that mad. You're that mad that you want me to drop dead. Again, you are a child. Act like a child. But hey, it's okay. I'm living. It's been a week. I'm still here, buddy. I'm still here. And you're still begging to come on platforms. In the meantime. Imagine that. Imagine that. So again, toxic individual number one. I wish you well. I'm not gonna come here and talk shit about you. I don't do that kind of stuff because I'm a better man than that. I wish you well. I wish your family well. I'm not gonna tell you to drop dead because unlike you, I got class. I could have came up and said something different to you, but I ain't gonna do that. That's just that. But again, toxic folks don't deserve your access. They don't. Remember that. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your fucking parents. It could be your fucking children. It doesn't matter. If my kids ever treat me that way, and I'm straight up with this, I love my kids. And I'll tell you something right now. If my kids ever treated me in that way, you're gone. You're gone. You're gone. That simple. So I'm in a good place right now. I'm in a good place with this. Leave toxic folks behind, man. Leave them behind. They don't need you. They don't need your access. They don't. They really don't. All right, a couple things to get out here. This is like I said, I wanted to mainly come on here and talk about this. This is something I've been having on my chest for a little while. About a week, and I wanted to let it sell a couple of days and have a chance to sit and talk about it. So it's on my chest. It's on my life. I'm not gonna address this again. This person again. This person is gone in my life, and we're good. All right. Spring training baseball's around here. Baseball's here. Baseball's here pretty much. Not the season, but spring training baseball's here. I've been dying to go to spring training game for a long time. And then look at prices for games now. Did you know that spring training baseball games now, prices are actually on level with regular season games now? It is insane, the prices here. And no, I live in South Florida, so I'm surrounded by many teams that come down here. Obviously, Arizona and Florida are the two main places that teams go to, prepare for the season. So I'm around, I'm around a lot of teams that play down here. The Astros, the Nationals, the Mets. Obviously, my Mets that play up an hour away from here in Point St. Lucie. But the ticket prices are like through the roof. Like inflation, I guess, has affected baseball too. So, and that's to say, I would never ever decide to go to a game, but these prices are insane. I mean, these prices are on level with a regular season baseball game. If I'm going to pay tickets for a game that doesn't matter, that kind of price, I might as well just pay same money and wait till the team comes down to town and pay for the game, during the season between April and September. But that being said, I'm not going to say I'm not excited about baseball this year, because there's always always that first couple of weeks of the year for me. It's always like, okay, see what's going on. But I'm also a Mets fan, so I also have a much more. I mean, for me anyway, I've been much more measured with how I come limited baseball season. And I've told you guys through the years that the way I treat the Mets now is the way I treat a TV show. If the team is good for the first 3-4 months of the year and it's worth watching beyond July, I'll stick with it. If they start falling apart, which they do most of the time, I'm out. This year, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know how good this team's going to be. This team was in the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year, they had some expectations. They had, at the time, they had signed Justin Verlander. They had signed Max Scherzer, and then both guys got hurt, and both guys got traded late middle of the year. The team fell apart in May and June, and I opted out by July. I told you, I love my Mets. I love my Mets, but at the same time, you're not good. You ain't wasting my damn time. So that's just that. We're gonna have a baseball preview on this show. We're planning to. We did this last year with our own Mikey B and Mikey Bernier, and that was fun. And we'll have one again this later this month. We're gonna do much like we do with football and basketball with Zach and Chris. We're gonna do the baseball over-unders with Mikey B. He is a baseball savant, and while I love baseball, that is not my that's my third language at this point now. Like, I love baseball, but I'm not as in tune with day-to-day transactions like it used to be. I'm pretty much focused on one team, if not one, maybe the Marlins to some degree. But I'm a Mets guy first and foremost, and I don't get too. When I was a kid, I was obviously a lot more engaged with baseball day to day. Now, as I got older and there's less time, and I gotta spend my time to things to watch, baseball is kind of taking a back seat most years. As a whole, not so much the Mets, but as a whole. But look, there is some excitement to the Mets season because, again, they could be good. I don't know, it could be good. Do I expect them to be good this year? History says ain't gonna happen. I'm a realist too when it comes to the Mets. I'm gonna enjoy what I can. This is what I can, but at the same time, I'm gonna be realistic about it too. But we're gonna have Mikey on the show hopefully later in the month. To do our over-unders. I'll obviously present the numbers to him, and he's gonna explain this team, this and that, how he feels about it, and go from there. That'll be the that's gonna come up later this month. What else? I am also right now in the process, and like I told you guys, of finally watching. Well, not so much watching, finally finishing The Sopranos. Right now, my wife and I are currently now in the middle of season 3, and we love the show. But I gotta tell you, watching the show. And I'm not someone that gets offended very easy by language and all the other stuff and content. I'm a big boy. I can handle it, and I have a lot more nuance when it comes to situations and the art. But I gotta tell you, watching this show, and again, this year's the 25-year anniversary of the show. I'm planning on doing a nice little episode on this feed sometime in the next couple months. Celebrating the show and the anniversary and whatnot. The show doesn't age well though. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't it not in terms of like how good it is. It's still a really great show. I'm even going that far. But the content, there's a lot of racial shit in this show. There's a lot of racist shit. And some of the things that Tony Soprano says, like for example, season 3, where like Meadows dating the mixed kid, and Tony doesn't want him to bring a black guy home or half black guy home, and this and that, and on one hand, I appreciate the honesty and the feel of what those people were like, back when and whatever. That was an attitude. That was a real thing. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, I appreciate seeing it, but I know for a fact that they will not allow this shit to be released now in 2024. There's no way in hell the Sopranos could ever be greenlit with the way it was written in 2024, because there's just too much volatility. There's just too much pushback. I hate to say it, there's too much wokeness to where to be enough pushback. I just don't think it would ever be greenlit in the same way, and it certainly won't be as popular for the same reasons. Now, I love the show. I think so far so good. My wife and I have been like with binging these shows now, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't podcasting a lot either. I've been dedicating my time to watching content. Shows behind on. I told you guys earlier in the year that one of my biggest goals was to start watching the shows I never finished. I have this show I want to finish still. Power on Stars I haven't finished yet. I still want to finish that. I still got to finish Californication, House of Cards. There's a lot of shows I started and I got close to finishing and never finished it that I want to complete now. This is probably the biggest one of the bunch. This one and The Wire, actually, the one in the bunch, I have to finish. So my wife and I, like, because of our schedules, you guys know, there are 2 days a week where I don't get to see her at nighttime to watch TV, and this is also not a very kid appropriate show, so we can't watch it when the kids are awake. So we do have 2 nights of the week where I cannot watch it with her because, like tonight, for example, she works all night and tomorrow night as well too, so I don't get to see her. So as a result, because we're watching it together, we're not able to watch the show. So what we're trying to do now, we're trying to watch one season per week. Each season is 13 episodes. So we try to squeeze in every night about 3 to 4 episodes a night. Once the kids were asleep, get about 3 to 4 episodes max a night. The only challenge for me is that some of these nights have where like has gone late to the point where it goes into where like I'm going to bed now at 1 in the morning, after 1 o'clock in the morning. Problem with that is I get up in the morning at 7 in the morning to take my kids to school, and I have to go to work after that too, also on most of those days. So it's a little bit of a challenge. I'm losing sleep, and I'm someone that needs minimum 6 hours of sleep, good sleep a night. So I've been feeling it a little bit now. Whereas my wife, she's more of a late nighter, she's used to be up late at night. She can go to bed at 2, 3 in the morning without a problem, and binge these shows at 2, 3 in the morning without a problem. I can't do that because even on the days I'm off next day, I still wake up in the morning to take my kids to school, and I'm feeling it next day too also. So we're trying to get the plan is to get through each season per week. There's 6 seasons. Well, technically it's 7, but the 6th season was actually a lot longer. So we're on pace to finishing the show by the end of March, by the end of this month. So if we keep the consistency we've been doing so far, we should be done by the end of this month. All right, one last thing we got here. One last thing. We are obviously are heading towards the election. We got a lot of time left. We're gonna have a lot of podcasts on this, a lot of episodes on the show in the months to come, discussing the election between myself and then the amount of guests I bring on here. So look out for that. Of course, that kind of content. If you're into that kind of content, but we're getting closer and closer. Obviously, not official yet, but it's gonna be Trump versus Biden. Barring any unforeseens, Trump goes to jail, which I doubt at this point, or anything of that nature, or someone pulls out or someone dies, and look, it's gonna be like my feeling on this election now is this: like, if this thing was being held today, I think just based on vibes alone, Donald Trump is going to win re-election. When I say re-election for him, after 4 years off, next Grover Cleveland, pretty much. Donald Trump's going to win the election based on the vibes I get. But again, there's still so much time between now and November. Things can happen. Maybe Biden pulls out of the race. There is some precedent of Biden, a candidate, a president who was president at the time, deciding not to run for re-election and deciding to call it around this time. That was Lyndon Johnson in 1968 did that, with his re-election bid. He decided not to run for re-election. So there's still that out there. I know people keep saying, well, what about Michelle Obama? Would she run in his place, or Gavin Newsom in his place, or Kamala Harris runs in his place? I don't know. I think Biden's going to run. I think the odds of Biden stepping to the side for someone else to run is very, very low. In fact, I would say I'll give it like a 2% chance it happens. I think Democrats is very stubborn in general, and I think they want to see this through. And I'll say this much too. Also, this might be just me sounding very conspiratorial about this. I think Democrats are okay with Trump winning. I think the lead Democrats are okay with him winning. In other words, if win for them. If Biden wins, obviously he keeps power. If Biden loses, Trump's president, and their play is, well, you know what? Let Trump take over. Let the country go where it was last 4 years. Let's see to get divisive anymore. And I think their mindset is, they know we get a reset in 4 years. That's my personal take on the election right now. If it was held today, I think Donald Trump wins. But again, we still got 6 months ahead of us. You have the issue in Gaza, of course, too, and that's could be the thing that undoes Joe Biden's chances here. Communication has been bad. Joe Biden's done some good here, absolutely, but that's not being translated to the American public. Because you can brag all you want, but if you're not telling people the good you're doing, and people don't feel it, because the economy, by the metrics that we use, no matter who's president, is in a good place. The problem is middle class voters who I talk to every day don't feel it. They still feel like the grocery bill's too high, everything's too high, apartments, rent's too high, and whether it's Joe Biden's fault, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's not his fault or not. People see that who was in charge at the time this happened, and they blame that guy. Doesn't matter who it is. Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. It does not matter. So like I said, we're gonna have a lot of commentary on this election in the months to come. Looking forward to that. I want to play a clip of something here, though, before we get out of here. Just kind of give an idea where the discourse is right now when it comes to election. This is a clip of Stephen A. Smith's podcast, Stephen A. Smith's show. So it's actually 2 clips, but it's a clip with Stephen A. Smith talk about the crime bill and talking about how, like, where this election stands right now. And then conservative commentator Brennan Tatum responding to Stephen A. Smith about, why black folks should vote Republican. I'm going to play this clip here, and then I'll respond to the thing here. Here's the clip.
Think I'm going to let President Biden off the hook? This is the same dude who was a senator in the 90s pushing the crime bill. You know that crime bill that led to mass incarceration for an inordinate amount of black folks? I want to know who the hell came up with that idea. Because Trump and the GOP are going to use that to their advantage, right? And they'll be right to do so. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if we're being fair, if we saw Donald Trump sitting down in a black household eating fried chicken with a father and a son, what would we say? What would we say? Folks out there would be calling it racist. If it's racist for him, why wouldn't it be racist for Biden?
I don't know how black folks that are educated, that are involved politically, vote for Democrats. I don't know how they see them as a viable option. I don't know how they vote for them whatsoever. I think that 99.9% of black people should be Republicans, and if you don't like what the Republicans are doing, then you shouldn't vote. But ain't no way the Democrats should get your vote. They have done nothing for black people. These people are stupid in 40 left shoes on a 10-legged man.
Oh, I'm really sorry that Jill forgot the watermelon and hot sauce.
All right, so that's first part was Stephen Smith, of course, like I said, and another part was Brandon Tatum. Stephen A is not necessarily wrong at all about that. He's responding to a video of Joe Biden visiting a house, a black home, eating fried chicken and watermelon. And the thing is, it's a bad look. It's also very petty. But here's the thing: what Stephen A is right about. If Donald Trump did the same exact thing that Joe Biden did, people would excoriate Donald Trump before that. For the record, I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm not a Donald Trump guy. For the record, I did not vote for him in 2016. Didn't vote for him in 2020. I'm not voting for him this year either. So I'm not talking about the Donald Trump supporter at all in the slightest. I'm just giving you context and giving you an example of what's going on here. And the fact of the matter is, if Donald Trump did the same thing Joe Biden did there, Donald Trump will get excoriated by many folks. Okay? Now, here's where I'm going to push back on Stephen A. and the crime bill, which, for the record, the crime bill actually, for the record, is something that's weaponized to some degree by Republicans. Because people forget most blacks, including myself, supported the crime bill, not knowing the ramifications behind it or what would happen as a result of the crime bill being so harsh as it was when it was signed in 1994. Okay? Because the reason why blacks like myself, who also is about law and order, still, for the record, is because we were so concerned with the safety of black communities that we felt at the time that we needed stricter crime laws, stricter laws into the crime bill. The problem is those laws, the crime bill was too harsh on minor crimes. It ended up having a disproportionate effect on black families and black fathers and kids being raised without a black father, which we, at least on the surface, did not expect to happen. We didn't think this through, obviously. Was the crime bill bad as a whole? Mostly. I think the crime bill had somewhat decent intentions, but bad ramifications. Okay? The problem is for someone like Brandon Tatum, with all due respect for a guy who's served as a law enforcement officer, I respect who he is, don't agree with his politics, but it is what it is that his view is, well, black folks should vote Republican because of blah, 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 blah. And this is where I push back on. And you're talking about someone who has been critical of Democrats through the years. And for the record, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an MP. I've never been a Democrat before. In fact, the only party I've ever been a part of my life was a Republican Party until 2008. You guys know my history already. You guys know my history with this stuff. Okay? Him saying that blacks should vote Republican, my question is, why? Look, I understand you saying they should vote Democrat, and that's your right. But to me, it is extremely intellectually dishonest to sit here and say that blacks should vote for Democrats because of X, Y, and Z. You know damn well why blacks will vote for Democrat. You know damn well the answer to that question is. It's a policy reason. That's why. Because most blacks, regardless of how you feel about the parties, there's one party that's closer on policy to the things they agree with than the other. So as much as we want to sit there and lean on Democrats bad, and I get all that. What is the GOP doing for you? What is the counter to the GOP? What are you presenting to the black community that Democrats are missing on? We acknowledge Democrats are missing on the black community there. Cool. We get that. What are you doing to earn my vote, to earn their vote, or anyone else's vote? No matter. And they can't answer the question in that question. They can't answer that question. That's the problem. Okay? You want to bag on Democrats? I'm all here. I'm all ears. Do what you want. There's a lot of shit you can sit there and bag on Democrats on. But what are you doing? And to me, that's a intellectually dishonest situation for him, for Tatum to say that, because of the fact that, okay, because you're Republican, all you care about is getting those votes come November, and once those votes are in, you don't give a damn anymore once that votes are in, because you got the votes you wanted. You wanted Republican votes. There you go. The reason why Democrats almost always have an edge on elections is because on policy, they are closer to where the majority of this country is than Republicans are. What policy does the GOP present that would want blacks to come out and vote for X Republican candidate? Because the only one I can think of is the only issue that they still lean on heavily, and that's the pro-life argument. And that's all segmented towards a community that's churchgoers, evangelicals. That's it. What policy? What policy is the GOP championing that blacks should be able to hold on to? And again, nobody can ask that question to me. We're gonna have this conversation on this podcast leading up to the election, going forward. Okay, but many people on both sides of the aisle. I'm gonna ask this question: what is the GOP presenting for black people? Because this is the issue. This is why I keep saying this. Vote your policy, not your personality. Vote your policy, not your personality. I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like Donald Trump. And it's not even because they're old. I think even the ages thing is just, I think it's a little overblown. Because if both men could function, if an old guy at their ages, a person could function well at their ages, which by the way, I've seen quite a few people in the late 70s, early 80s be very sharp. And they can function. I'm okay with it. So the too old thing is an excuse. Now, if said candidate is too old and shows those issues where they can't communicate and they can't function, that's a different story. And Joe Biden, I will say, to his detriment, of course, he does show those faculties. But guess what? So does Donald Trump now too, as well. It goes both ways. I mean, Donald Trump's only 3 years younger than Joe Biden. He ain't much younger. It'll break it to you. He ain't much younger. So both guys, if we're gonna use that logic, also, then both guys should run. We got a country of what, 500 million people, something like that. I don't remember the number. And those are the two guys we came up with. Really? Come on now. That being said, way policy, not personality. And I think a lot of these arguments are intellectually dishonest. All Brandon Tatum cares about, the person that last part of the clip I played there, all he cares about at the end of the day is Republican votes. Again, with policy. Because on healthcare, Democrats are closer. What the country is right now on healthcare, Democrats are closer to that than Republicans are. Not fully there, but they're closer to that. That's one reason why I vote Democrat last couple cycles. Healthcare. That's my number one priority when it comes to when I go into one booth. I don't vote on personality. I don't vote on vibes and feelings. I vote based on policy. So for me, voting against Donald Trump in November is very simple. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump the person at all. Although he's not really someone I would want in the country anyway. It's more of a policy reasoning. That is why I like Mitt Romney. Because Mitt Romney, back when, is actually much more moderate than most Republicans. And in fact, on healthcare is virtually equal with Barack Obama. Honestly, if Barack Obama was not running for re-election in 2012, I would vote for Mitt Romney in 2012. So miss me with the lean in blue, lean in red politics. I don't do that. I vote based on policy. And this is where the GOP, in my opinion, continues to miss the ball on policy. And they rely on low turnout, they rely on misinformation, they rely on all that stuff. And for record, I think Democrats are pretty shitty what they do as well, too. The way they handle this war in Gaza, pretty shitty. In fact, it's going to cost Joe Biden the election. He's going to lose Michigan because of that. A very important state, 20 electoral votes. You go ahead and bank it and give it to Donald Trump right now. I'm just saying. So that's where I'm at on that. That's today's podcast. A lot longer than I thought I was going to go, but it's okay. I'm on Twitter /X at EJ Christian 7. Podcast across all podcast catchers. But guys, especially, please have a goal right now. I want to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube. I can't do that without your support. So if you can follow me on youtube.com/Earnest Christian, subscribe button, please. You can find this show, this episode, probably also on the page as well too. All my other podcasts as well. Other than that, we'll talk soon. Love you guys. Take care. God bless. And until next.